6:30 on BBC Radio Scotland.
And right now you're listening to the afternoon show on BBC Radio Scotland. I'm Janice Forsyth, a special edition of the programme coming to you from Celtic Connections at Cottier's Theatre in Glasgow. It's incredibly atmospheric, this old church with the stonework, and it's just a perfect setting for what we're doing. I hope that's coming across to you wherever you are listening. Also apt to be coming from this indie venue during Independent Venue Week. Did you know it was that week, ladies and gentlemen? Every week is a something week, but this is a good one. And festivals like Celtic Connections are a great reminder for all of us to get out there and support our local venues. And we're turning to theatre now, because yes, there is theatre at Celtic Connections. A play on tonight and tomorrow at the Tron Theatre in Glasgow, inspired by, well, someone we've been hearing about earlier on, the true story of a legendary bagpiper who was a bin man from Perth and who changed the life of one young piper from Fife forever. The guys say we should take whatever romantic notions we have of the bagpipes and leave them at the door when we're going to see the play. So let's find out more about the legend that was Gordon Duncan from the play's writer and actor David Colvin and director Tom Freeman. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. David, nice to meet you.
It's lovely to meet you.
Tell us a little bit about your introduction to Gordon Duncan.
Well, my introduction to Gordon Duncan was really as a 13, 14-year-old piper in the early 90s, mid-90s, and having been taught bagpipes in a very traditional play, this, it wasn't even music, it wasn't even a manuscript, but this music ended up going around a band called Andy Rinnick's Ferret, which, as the boys will tell you, you grow up learning that the bagpipes has 9 notes and no other notes are available and no other notes are allowed to be played. And of course, Mr. Duncan didn't listen to any of that, and he decided that bagpipes should be able to do whatever bagpipes is capable of doing. And Andy Rennick's Ferret started, I call it a C flat, the bagpipes call it a C natural because we've all got our own logic as bagpipers. But the tune started on a C flat, and I remember it was a 10th note, and I just remember all the younger boys in the band certainly going, what is this? What is this music? How does it sound like this? How is it played on the bagpipes? How do I even create this noise that this guy is doing? And as a 13-year-old boy, it was a slightly magical experience to see this instrument that I'd only ever seen performed this way, and only ever with these sensibilities to be played like this. I just thought was.
And what was it about him that made him break those rules? Because it sounds what he was doing was pretty revolutionary.
Well, I mean, you'll have to ask these chaps in terms of Gordon himself. I didn't know him. I only really know what my reaction to what he was doing was, which was sort of life-changing, certainly music-changing. I certainly treated my bagpipes in a very different way than I'd ever treated them before. I looked at them differently. I behaved differently with them, all because of this man.
That's fascinating. So give us an insight into what made him tick.
Well, he was very influenced by lots of different styles of music. He was really into AC/DC and Rory Gallagher, and he did a lot of travelling in Spain, Ireland, Brittany and all these places, so he was influenced by lots of and I think with the bagpipes is that kind of natural thing. If you've got that want for more, then the restriction of that, the 9 notes, sort of leaves you frustrated. So I think that's and the rock music was definitely a big influence.
So Tom, give us a wee insight on how you present the play then. David, who's the writer and the actor, so a one-man show.
That's right, and I'm very much one of the people who, growing up in Edinburgh, my experience of the bagpipes were they sound awful, and I'm not a musician, and really David, when I made friends with David and we worked together in theatre, he challenged that perception, and I think the play does that as well. And when David sent me the play to read, the first thing that struck me was it was very funny, and it was very personal. It's about David's own journey through it, but also how universal it is. It's not just a play about an instrument that you have an opinion about. It's a play about Scotland and how we treat genius, how we treat beauty, how we treat music, and so it had universal appeal. And David plays a lot of different characters in this. He plays his old pipe major. He plays the rest of the guys that play in his pipe band when he's a kid, and he even plays some other characters. I won't do any spoilers, but I could see straight away way that this was a really powerful one-man show, and it couldn't be done really with an ensemble cast because it was such a personal story to him. But we do have a 4-piece rock band, which, going back to what the guys were saying about rock music, that definitely plays a part in this.
And you get pipes as well, presumably. Do you play the pipes?
There's definitely pipes. I mean, the play sort of subverts people's expectations. I think a lot of people come and see the Thunderstruck play expecting a gig or expecting lots of Gordon Duncan music with maybe a few anecdotes in the middle. It really isn't that. It really is a play with a few bagpipe surprises, hopefully.
Well, let's give people a wee preview, actually, because you're going to perform a little extract for us, aren't
yes.
you? Need to say anything or just go into it?
No, I might stand up and do
It'd
it
be
for
good.
everyone.
Stand up, that'd be a lovely thing.
Right, here we go.
We have removed the swearing.
Thank you very much for doing that,
Remove the
Director.
swearing, yes. It was at this point my poor old dad, initially thrilled at my choice of instrument, came to realise the damage a 13-year-old boy could do with a set of bagpipes. And since my brother had recently taken up the trumpet, you can imagine the noise levels. Imagine your kid comes home from school one day. No, wait. Imagine you've all got kids, and your kid comes home from school one day, your youngest, and proudly stands in front of you with a violin and says, "Twinkle, twinkle, little star." Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, imagine that noise, but on the bagpipes and loud. Those are always the bagpipers who decide to busk. On street corners, the world over, perpetuating the myth that it's a terrible sounding instrument to tourists. Happy with whatever terrible piper is murdering Amazing Grace or Scotland the Brave. Listen to him. The bin man.
Oh, thank you very much indeed for doing that. That was great. That gives us a wee flavourette. And we should say the title, Thunderstruck, we heard earlier on about AC/DC. Tell us, for those who are not AC/DC fans, about the relevance of the title.
Well, Thunderstruck is probably AC/DC's most famous, certainly the most famous guitar riff. And Gordon Duncan was the madman who decided that the bagpipes should be able to play this AC/DC heavy metal rock track. And ultimately succeeded, much to the joy of all the young pipers in the world and much to the less than joy of all the older pipers around at the time.
And I think it's worth saying as well that you wrote the play because someone showed you a YouTube video of a piper murdering Thunderstruck.
But he had flames coming out the top of his bagpipes. Yes.
And David decided that was not a fitting tribute to Gordon, and that actually he deserved a bit more than that, because the song really does encapsulate how he ripped up the rule book and really took on the establishments.
And I can totally imagine how you, as young musicians, young pipers, you'd be like, wow, this is incredible. This person will change my life and my approach to music. In terms of the play, it's interesting because I was looking at on the Tron website last night, and I think both shows are sold out. Waiting lists for tickets, I believe.
I think they're certainly sold out on the Tron website. We've been told that people have still managed to get tickets via Celtic Connections.
Okay.
So please do still try and get tickets.
Yeah, try and get tickets. But I'm interested in the fact that, that you could say this is a play about a piper, and you might think, well, that's a fairly narrow niche. But I guess what you're talking about goes beyond that realm into something more universal.
Exactly. It's what Tom said. It is a play about a piper, but it's really a play. I didn't want to write a play about a piper for pipers. I wanted to write a play. I wanted to write a play about Scotland. I wanted to write a play about Scottish music. Gordon's music transcends bagpiping. Gordon's music is now. Someone told me the other day that someone was playing a tune called the High Drive, and it was described as traditional Scottish music. And someone said, "That's not traditional music. That's Gordon Duncan." And I thought, what better tribute to Gordon Duncan than his tunes, his music is now so identifiable as Scottish cultural heritage that his music transcends bagpipes. It transcends Scottish folk music. It is now sort of defines a whole genre of Scottish music, and the world over, really, this man should be celebrated, and this man, people should know who he is and what he did.
I think there's something about how Scotland treats genius. What would happen if Mozart was born in Scotland into working class Scotland? How would we treat him? And how much of that is about the cultural cringe, you know? And how much have we put that cultural cringe on our national instrument and treated it as an instrument of war as opposed to something that can create real beauty? And I think that's something in the play. So.
And for those who don't know, sadly, you were talking in the present tense about how the music lives on, but sadly, Gordon died in 2005. And, you know, Ross and Ali, you did know the man. I mean, clearly troubled latterly. I didn't know him, but maybe you can give us a wee insight into, you know, is it an idea of a troubled genius or not recognised at that point in his homeland? Tell us what the reality was.
I think it's quite bad, and we're quite bad in Scotland for, you know, you kind of you're recognised when you're dead, kind of thing, and it's quite a bad. It's maybe like that around the world, but I think it's in Gordon's case. I don't think he knew how loved he was. And maybe if he saw some of that, it would maybe be a different story.
Because he was only 41 when he died.
41, yeah.
It truly is tragic, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
If things had been different, what do you think might have happened for him in terms of his music?
Well, we wouldn't be standing up there playing the pipes. It would be him. No, I think he was a very shy guy, and. You know, I think he liked to drink, but for him that kind of gave him confidence to be. You know, he was kind of socially awkward, so in order to sort of be in situations like this and Celtic Connections, so many people, he kind of relied on having a drink.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of took its toll, you know, and it was sad that was the case, you know, but.
This is a common story. It is something we've talked about in the programme too, where I think gradually there's more help coming for musicians and other people in the arts. You might think, oh, this is a lovely job they've got, but actually the pressures.
There's a blurry line with music and arts where, you know, drinking it for fun and drinking because you need to is kind of, you know, sometimes you don't yourself want to recognise what side of the line you're on, you know, so...
How much, just finally, how much do you think things have changed for young pipers now? You know, even in terms of just, you know, exposing yourself to more types of music and mixing it up a wee bit. I mean, I suppose something like Martin Bennett is another...
Well, Martin
influence.
And Gordon, they were my biggest influences, and Gordon Gordon changed how pipes are and what people play, and that's no joke. Like, he's changed the repertoire, and for the better, you know.
Yeah, and just going, we did the show at Piping Live in August, and just going to Piping Live, the two things happened. One, there's such an incredible love for Gordon that the piping community now have. They're really special to him, and actually I think in many ways they were quite worried about the play when we turned up to do it. I think they were quite worried about how we were going to talk about him and what we were going to say about him. As it turns out, the play is obviously very much a love story to Gordon, and that's just despite the theatricality of it, or despite the conflict that has to be involved in theatre, it's still very much a love story to Gordon Duncan. But you go to Piping Live, and you go one night and you see Galician pipers, and you go another night and you see Bulgarian pipers, and then you see the Highland pipes playing Galician style, playing Belgium style, playing all these European styles, and then even further than that, people are now treating the instrument the sort of same way Gordon did. He said, well, here's some Indian drummers, and I'm going to use my practice chant. Here's some Spanish guitars. He wanted all this other musical instrument, and he refused to accept that the bagpipes couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And that's the magical thing. He did not accept that the bagpipes couldn't play heavy metal guitar.
And right now, this is a political and cultural moment in our history. We need those international connections through music.
But politically and culturally, it doesn't matter where we go. We should be damn proud of our instrument and damn proud of our music and damn proud of our cultural heritage. And these boys have taken where Gordon was and just taken it another step forward, and I'm sure Gordon, wherever he is enormously proud of them.
And you guys are going to demonstrate that again for us right now, aren't you? Going to
we'll give you one of Gordon's tunes.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Ross and Ali, who are going on stage. And Jen Butterworth joining them again for Pressed for Time. While they get ready, let me remind you that we've just been hearing from David Colvin and Tom Freeman. Thunderstruck on tonight and tomorrow at the Tron Theatre in Glasgow. And have a wee look at the Celtic Connections website. Wee bit of tuning up going on, ladies and gentlemen. David, What's it like for you, actually, when you're about to go on and do a play and you've got to do all your vocal stuff, you've got to play the pipes as well? Is that not quite challenging in a one-man show?
I think the most challenging thing is after a 75-minute monologue, having to play a big old 6-minute Gordon Duncan tune. It's quite as you can see from the boys, playing the bagpipes itself is a physical undertaking.
Yeah.
To do it at the end of a 75-minute show has its own level of physicality.
Brilliant. Well, I hope you have a great time. That was David Colvin and Tom Freeman. Thunderstruck tonight and tomorrow, Tron Theatre in Glasgow. Right now, more live music from Ross, Ali and Jen.